of the two brothers who were murdered in Westmoreland. I am so sorry about it. And the sister saying, Prime Minister, I just want to talk to you about it. I just want to, it's an appeal to hear what are our leaders doing about this. She's not quarreling, she's not blaming, she didn't even sound angry. Obviously she was distraught, but she says, Prime Minister, just come talk to me about it. Help me to make sense of it. Why?
After 6 years, approximately, of Jamaica being led by Conjru Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, we continue to see crime and corruption reach its highest level in Jamaica. We have seen a few resignations of ministers and public officials here and there when pressure is brought to bear. However, as the saying goes, an easy lies the head that wear the crown. For how longer, how much longer can the Prime Minister sit aside and not be placed front and center to take ultimate responsibility for all the corruption that has been taking place under his watch? The people of Jamaica must call on the Holness administration to take responsibility for the corruption that is taking place in our country.
Shoot a truth in any farm. Shoot a truth in any farm. Truth no need clothes. Make truth run free. From Norman Manley to Alexander Bustamante. It no need glasses for see. That from the root to the stem of the tree, PNP and GLP have been designed and created to hold down, hold back and mislead the Jamaican people. From then till now, the motive and objective have always been the same. It never changed. From Siaga to PJ Pattison, from Portia to now Conjru, PNP and GLP alternating but never ever stop and forever riding the gravy train to the demise and destruction of Jamaica and our indigenous children. Granny used to say, if fish come up from down a sea bottom and tell you say shark down there, you better pay attention and best believe say, if it no go so, well it near so. Wake up, Jamaicans.
Every poor man must build his castle. Every poor man must build him big house.
He became Jamaica's newest prime minister despite controversy about his big house.
Join us in a partnership for prosperity.
We uncover a trail of property purchases and ask, is Andrew Holness paying his part?
Is that why you didn't pay the property taxes on the home?
What the Prime Minister didn't want you to know before the election. And later, Holness sounds the warning on corruption to his new cabinet.
Corruption will not be tolerated in this government.
But does his own record raise questions when it comes to awarding public contracts?
When each side is in government, there are uncomfortable levels of awarding of contracts to persons who are either political supporters, campaign financiers, or other connected parties.
We reveal how Holness signed off on taxpayer money for a contract to his associates. We begin our show with Jamaica's newest Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. During the 2016 general elections, his house became front and center. The public, and perhaps more so the ruling People's National Party, they wanted to know why a St. Lucian company owned his house, and where he got the money, since news reports had put its value at about $2 million, a figure Honus has not confirmed. After all, Honus had been a politician most of his professional life, didn't come from money, and his salary at the time was just over $60,000 each year, not counting allowances. Honus answered several of the questions asked, but we at 18 Degrees North had others. What we found was an interesting series of property purchases and an uneven playing field when it comes to personal tax matters. It also shed light on the relationship between Jamaican politicians and their associates in the awarding of public contracts. We're staying right here in Jamaica at 18 Degrees North and 77 Degrees West.
The Labour Party believe that every poor man must build his castle. Every poor man must build him big house. And we not grudge you for it. We are going to help you to achieve that. That is why we say education be free, health be free, and we must make the place secure so you can live and enjoy yourself.
This is the house, built on 3/4 of an acre, complete with stone-cut wall, in the exclusive Beverly Hills neighborhood just outside Kingston. It's a huge upgrade from where Jamaica's newest Prime Minister and then opposition leader Andrew Honus says he was born.
I was born in a 2-bedroom board house at 56 Cumberland Road in a Spanish town. My father is still a farmer and my mother is a retired civil servant.
Property records showed the Beverly Hills land was purchased by St. Lucian-based company ADMAT Incorporated for $300,000 in 2011, 3 months before Honus became Prime Minister of Jamaica for the first time, and when he was Minister of Education. There's no mortgage listed. In a statement, Honus says he's the sole director of ADMAT and a shareholder, along with his 2 sons, Adam and Matthew. Honus says he got the money from funds in his accounts at 2 of Jamaica's investment banks and used his savings, salary, loans and credit from suppliers established through his wife, who is a real estate developer, to build the house, costing him approximately $52 million, or around $525,000 US. He says a St. Lucian structure was used for estate planning. His attorney, Patrick Bailey, says there's that and the additional potential benefit of avoiding transfer taxes.
If the house at Beverly Hills is the only asset and he was selling it, he would simply sell the company, sell the shares. The company would have its shareholding transferred from him and his children to the new purchasers, whereas the title would remain unchanged because the new purchaser will be the owners of ADMAT and be the owners of the property. So in that case, there's no transfer from one entity to another. So you're safe on transfer tax and stamp duties and those sorts of things.
Civil society activist Carol Narcisse says the leader of the country shouldn't be trying to avoid taxes.
Especially if you're a prime minister and you're telling your citizens that they need to conform to the regulatory environment that you have designed, that you do not think you can adhere to, because it is inimical to your interest to adhere to it, or inimical to the interest of your children's future to adhere to it, then there is a major, there's a major inconsistency there that you need to explain.
Join us in a partnership for prosperity. Let's change Jamaica for the better. Choose prosperity.
Does he own other entities in there, in ADMAT?
In ADMAT?
Yeah.
I think he has at least one other property in ADMAT.
And where is that?
That is in somewhere in the Arcadia area. Right.
And that's considered land or also?
It's an apartment. Actually, he's now in the process of selling that unit. He owes suppliers, because suppliers gave him credit for the house he's building in Beverly Hills.
And the source of funds for that was what?
That one, I can't recall all of those details, but I seem to remember that he has always used the house that he lives in and get loans and that sort of thing.
We checked the title for the property where Bailey says both Honus and his wife lived at the time of our interview and found no additional loans or mortgages other than those originally taken out in 2002, when they bought the house for $7 million Jamaican dollars, around $144,000 back then.
So you were satisfied then with the source of the funds in both cases?
Oh, absolutely. He saved in U.S. stocks and amongst his portfolio. So he was saving, because these are savings.
Is that savings from him alone or him and his wife?
I don't know that level of personal detail. That would be. Yeah, I don't know that level
Of what you know, is there any evidence?
I know of nothing. I know of nothing else that he owns in relation to Admat. Okay. He currently owns rather.
We checked the title for the Acadia property and found that it was indeed purchased by the same St. Lucian company Admat Incorporated in 2008, again when Honus was Minister of Education. The price tag, 16 million Jamaican dollars, around 219,000 US back then, and again, no mortgage was listed. Further, we also checked whether Admat owned additional properties and found one more. A half-acre lot, also bought in Beverly Hills on Wycliffe Close in February 2009, also when Honus was Minister of Education, price tag around 15 million Jamaican dollars, almost 173,000 US dollars, and again, no mortgage listed.
So you've never heard of this Wycliffe Close property before today?
Let me put it this way. I have never handled, and when I look at the transfer, I see the names of lawyers who I know. And he's entitled to have more than one lawyer. We all have to eat.
So all told, when it comes to properties, there's the Great House Boulevard home that Honus and his wife bought with a mortgage while Honus was a mere member of Parliament. And in the 4 years he was Minister of Education, earning the equivalent of around 60,000 US dollars per year, or 90,000 with allowances, there was the Arcadia apartment, no mortgage listed. The land at Wycliffe Close in Beverly Hills, no mortgage listed. The land for the Shenstone Beverly Hills house he's building, no mortgage listed. And around 525,000 US dollars spent building the house in the 3 years after Honus's Jamaica Labour Party lost the election in 2011. Honus, through a member of his team, said he wouldn't comment on the source of funds for any of his properties before the election, but even after, he didn't. He also said he would make his financial statement public at the end of March 2016, but he didn't. Despite several calls to Juliet Honus, a property developer, chartered accountant, and newly elected member of Parliament, she didn't get back to us.
We will again reduce transfer taxes, stamp duties, and estate taxes.
What about property taxes?
No, but he has to pay property tax.
At the time of our initial checks in the 2 weeks before the election, the house in Beverly Hills had an outstanding balance since 2013 on the tax administration's website. Amount, about $174,000 or US $1,400 approximately. Property taxes on the Wycliffe Close land in Beverly Hills were listed as not having been paid since 2009, a total of about $175,000 or US around $1,400. And the Great House Boulevard home that he owned with his wife Juliet, that was listed as outstanding since 2014, owing Jamaicans $64,000 or about 526 US dollars. We call the tax administration to confirm. Volume is 1118.
Andrew only?
Yeah.
The amount is $64,000 outstanding and $50 for 2 years.
All in, Honus or his entities were listed at the time as owing almost 413,000 Jamaican dollars, around 3,400 US dollars. It wasn't clear if there were any amounts owing for the apartment at Arcadia Drive. Caroline Hay, former Deputy Director of Public Prosecution, says, in general, no leader should be backed up on their taxes. We did not ask her specifically about Honus.
No public official ought to be behind on their taxes. You are in a position, when you're a public official, in a position of trust, and one would imagine an example to the nation as to what values we want in positions of leadership.
Days after 18 Degrees North brought it to Honus's attention, and before the election, the tax administration's website reflected zero balances for the 2 Beverly Hills properties at Shenstone Drive and Wycliffe Close. However, Taxes on the house he owns with his wife were still listed as owing as of our last check, March 18, 2016, even as he became Prime Minister of Jamaica for a second time.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica.
Coming up on 18 Degrees North, too close for comfort? How Andrew Honus signed off on taxpayers' money for a contract to his associates. Next on 18 Degrees North. 18 Degrees North just uncovered a trail of property purchases linked to Jamaica's newest Prime Minister, Andrew Honus. Now see how that trail led us down another path, that of government contracts awarded to his associates.
Corruption will not be tolerated in this government.
The property at Waycliffe Close in Beverly Hills remains an open lot today. As it turns out, the owner, Andrew Honus's Admat Incorporated, applied to the National Environmental Planning Agency to build townhouses in 2010, but that application was turned down. Representing Admat in this application was one Robert Garvin.
Robert Garvin is not a director in any way, shape, or form of Admat.
No, man, he's not.
But why would Robert Garvin's name then appear on an application to the land development?
Because he's acting as agent, he's doing the process. Yeah. That's not unusual.
According to Company's office records, Robert Garvin is or was a director of other entities affiliated with Andrew or Juliet Honus: Positive Jamaica Foundation Limited, Sunshine Mobile, West Central St. Andrew Trust Limited, Omega Bridge Finance, and the now removed Delido Taxi Service.
Who is Robert Garvin?
Garvin?
Robert Garvin.
Never met the name, never heard the name. But I do remember Positive. But I did set up Positive Jamaica, I remember that.
Right, but he's one.
Yeah.
Positive Jamaica is in part a director by Garvin.
I know he was a director of
And by the way, one more thing. What about the fact that Garvin used this address, 28 Herb McKinley?
Because this is my address. It's precisely what I'm saying. You're at 28 Herb McKinley, no?
I know. So why Robert Garvin used it and you
Because we set up the company here. Garvin, I'm not saying that. I don't remember the name.
Separately, Robert Garvin is also listed as the director of Westkin Construction, along with one Donovan Simpson. Garvin used the address 25 Dominica Drive while setting up Westcon, the same address he and Honus used when registering West Central St. Andrew Trust Limited. Government records show Westkin Construction as receiving 14 government contracts, totaling $28.5 million Jamaican dollars, or around $386,000 US. This was between 2006 and 2009, even as Honus or his wife shared directorships with Garvin on 4 entities. 12 of the 14 contracts were under the JLP government, with which Honus has a career-long affiliation. 9 of the 14 list 0 or only 1 tender. 10 of the 14 were granted by the Minister of Education when Andrew Honus was minister, and by the National Works Agency and Social Development Commission for work in Honus's constituency. Honus even instructed the Social Development Commission to pay Westkin Construction just under $1.5 million Jamaican dollars, or around US $21,000 back then. He signed the document himself. There was only one bidder for cleaning, bushing and trimming of the roadways in Honus's constituency of West Central St. Andrew, and no procurement committee approval. Payment was requested by Honus December 20th, 2007, and paid promptly on the same day. When contacted in a general sense, the current Social Development Commission head, Dwayne Vernon, said, while not the norm, it is possible to have a request and payment on the same day, especially when there's a contract in place with stated payment dates. Vernon, who didn't address this contract specifically, also said, the SDC does not procure for constituencies. This is the prerogative of the MP and his or her project officer. Civil society activist Carol Narcisse says, awarding of government contracts in Jamaica has been a long-standing cause for concern.
When each side is in government, there are uncomfortable levels of awarding of contracts to persons who are either political supporters, campaign financiers, or other connected parties.
We asked Honus whether he declared his relationship with Garvin while contracts were being awarded to Western Construction, but he didn't get back to us. We called Garvin, but he said he couldn't talk at the time, and he didn't answer our text message. When contacted, Garvin's partner in Western Construction, Donovan Simpson, he tried to distance himself from the inner workings of the company.
I don't know where are these projects. I don't know how much were collected.
So you didn't benefit from these contracts, that's what you're saying?
No.
Even though his name is not on the filing, is Andrew Honus a part of this company?
No, not to my knowledge. No, man, he's not a part of it.
Do you know if Garvin is a friend of Andrew Honus?
Yes, yeah, man, they are friends. They are very close. So from the two of us are friends. It's what Andrew went in politics, you know. I met him at Tiaga's office because Robert and Tiaga were very close also, you know.
Okay.
So the first time I saw Andrew is when Robert invited me to the Tiaga's office in New Kingston.
We searched, but could find no record of Honus declaring his relationship with Robert Garvin or Donovan Simpson. And the Office of the Contractor General would only say that we should request an investigation, which we did. When asked in a general sense, and not about Honus specifically, Caroline Hay says these kinds of relationships should be declared.
In the procurement rules and guidelines that I've read, there's been a concern about whether there is a connection either directly, meaning you have an interest in a company that's bidding for public assets and public benefit, or indirectly, meaning it's in the name of a wife, in the name of a girlfriend, in the name of a child, in the name of an associate. It is a duty of our staff and any other public officers and officials directly or indirectly involved in the procurement process, especially in the preparation of bidding documents, evaluation, contract negotiations, contract management and payments, to declare any potential conflicts of interest.
Whether Honus declared his relationship with Garvin remains unclear. However, Bailey, his attorney, is adamant that all assets associated with Andrew Honus were declared.
In every case, everything that he has owned from the time that from even the time he set up ADMAT, going back to 2001, everything has been declared.
We checked with the Integrity Commission, but no one ever got back to us. Information submitted is usually confidential.
The law that governs it explicitly states that these declarations cannot be made public, and if they are made public, whoever makes them public is subject to a fine of over $1 million, right? These declarations of assets need to be brought under the ambit of the Access to Information Act so that we can request to see and be given, or given a good reason why we can't be given.
In Jamaica, breaches of the rules governing the awarding of government contracts carry a possible fine of $1,000 or around $8 and or 3 months in prison. See what happens when we try to get answers from Andrew Honus on the campaign trail.
Can you give me a sense of who Robert Garvin is?
That's next on 18 Degrees North. Jamaica's newest Prime Minister, Andrew Honus, may have wrested control from the People's National Party, in part because of his 10-point tax plan. During the election campaign, though, there were skeptics. Critics charged, how was he going to plug the millions in lost revenues in US dollar terms when his plan would essentially eliminate income tax on those earning the equivalent of around $12,000 or less? Honus's plan was to spur spending and generate more revenue from consumption tax while raising taxes on high-end earners. We caught up with Honus on the campaign trail. We asked him what else he had up his sleeve and why at the time was he listed as being behind on his property taxes. Where is the economy going? Have you done any analysis of your tax plan and what economic growth is going to look like in your first year?
I wouldn't want to give you a specific figure.
But your analysis must have produced something that is tangible for the people to understand.
Yeah, but I didn't say I would give you that figure.
But it has produced a figure?
Of course.
Okay.
Otherwise, why would we do the analysis?
Give me a general sense of where we have on the low end, the top end.
I would say to you that if you're going to talk about economic growth, you should be above 3%.
Okay.
That's a fair statement to make.
Right.
Let's talk about some of the other taxes that you, tax incentives and lower rates. And
So in
I think there was
general-
mention of some transfer taxes as
so
well.
in general,
and estate.
you want to, our tax plan is to reduce transaction taxes. A part of economic growth is to get the velocity of transactions increasing, and particularly in construction and real estate, because those are major employment areas. So we will bring to the levels which we had them before our transfer tax and stamp duties, and estate taxes as well.
You seem to don't like taxes too much because
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a small government, free enterprise person. I believe that markets work best and taxes are distortionary.
Okay. Is that why you didn't pay the property taxes on the home?
No, my property taxes are paid.
On the THS website, when we did the valuation numbers for your properties, the outstanding taxes are there.
No, my taxes are paid.
When we looked, there was your Great House Boulevard property. There was your property that's owned by ADMAT, which you say you're the sole director of. And then there's another property that we actually found under ADMAT as well, up at Wycliffe Close. All three were outstanding. And then we saw that at Wycliffe Close, taxes seem to have been outstanding since 2009. What about the other property, though, at Wycliffe Close?
That I would have to check on. I mean, that's been there for a little while, so I'll have to check on. But I don't want to distract from the message.
No, but you are the person that's saying that you don't necessarily love taxes, yeah?
Yeah.
And so you are the lead. You are a leader of this country, potentially the premier leader of this country come next week. And so I'm asking you the question, as a leader of a country, do you believe that your taxes should have been more up to date than the record reflects?
What I'm saying to you, from my best recollection, I've paid my taxes. Now, if it is that they are outstanding, it's not an issue to pay them.
Okay.
I'm not hiding from taxes.
But ADMAT is designed for you to avoid potential estate taxes and transfer taxes.
No, it's designed for estate planning purposes.
For estate planning purposes, that means basically that you avoid some sort of taxes. And I'm saying, does it look good for a leader of a country?
I'm not clear that it's, when we set it up, it was never to avoid any kind of taxes. And it's not likely that I would be able to sell everything. It was set up merely as a way of holding assets. So it's a holding company. That's it. But in any event, let's be clear. Any citizen of any country is permitted. It's not illegal to establish, and many persons have.
No doubt. I'm not talking about the legality. I'm more talking about, does it look good for a leader to be trying to set up their situation so that they avoid paying tax?
No. Any company can, I think, avoid being in a situation. Look, my view on the matter is this. You should plan your estate and plan for taxes the best way possible.
You just said a while ago that you don't see a sense where you would be able to sell everything. What's everything? What's everything?
You mentioned two properties.
Right. There's Wycliffe Close, which is an open land right now.
Look, we'll talk again.
No, one thing I wanted to ask you
you've
about.
You've gone over the 10 minutes.
No, hold on, Mr. Honest. Mr. Honest, I must ask you a question. Can you give me a sense of who Robert Garvin is?
He's the company secretary, but what's the issue?
What's your relationship with him?
Jamaica unity, them for know a straight love we need in the community. It's time for us to unite, my brothers, my sisters. Let's join hands together. It's the only way to rise above inequality. One nation, freedom, my people, freedom.